Nothing in the basses, because what I also wanted in this piece was I wanted some pizzicato harmonic support. I really wanted that blunk, 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 blunk kind of thing in there. So loaded up in the ensemble track here, I have that. And so this was another thing that was kind of delicate to kind of get in there and get just right. And it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. You know, I only spent a couple hours kind of putting this together. You know, I couldn't have them out front too much, but I wanted them just delicate enough to kind of punctuate. And so they just kind of sit back there pretty nice. And the other thing that I did was I also added second violins here, just on a really, really low dynamic. I mean, they're probably, I don't know what that is. It's like a mezzo piano maybe. They're just kind of reinforcing the melody an octave up, because I didn't want to use any kind of horns. I want to keep this pretty simple, and I don't really like the woodwinds in contact. So I thought, I'll double it in the second violins here. And so that's what I have going on here. Now in the beginning here, we have some strings that are kind of supporting this clarinet melody. So I just used the ensemble patch here. And I believe, if I look in here, that is full ensemble. Gotta squeeze this all in here. Yep, there you go. Now the only thing that I did differently here, I believe, is that I adjusted the release time of this arco. Because this doesn't do polyphonic legato, there's no way to connect those notes when you're playing kind of chordal stuff. And so to kind of make that work right, what I did was I extended the release just a little bit, just to give it just a little bit more kind of trail off, to give that almost illusion that the notes are a little bit more connected than they were. And it's just a little bit. You can see the value is 87, and I think by default it's 80. So it's just a tiny little bit. You can see, I'll pop this up here. I also use the very lowest dynamic that I could. I'll boost it up though, so you can hear what's going on here. So if you take a look at the keyboard here, now let me put this back at 80 where it was. See, it's a little bit more of a sharp release. So if we just increase this just a hair, even up to, 88, how about? You can see there's a little bit more trail there. You can actually get bananas along with this. You can see that's pretty long there. We don't want that. So I pushed that up just a little bit, and you can see in the MIDI here, if I scroll up to where I had these chords, I had all of them and just a little bit before the next measure of when the chord change was. And then I started the new one just a little bit before, so I'd get this effect that this new note was kind of ramping in, because there is just a little bit of attack ramp up, if you will. It's very, very slight, and I could have added more in the envelope there. In fact, let me just show you how that works here. Let me go back to... By default, it's set to 50, but we could have made it something like this. Or something like this. Even that may sound nice. Let's listen to what that sounds like. So you can kind of play around with that. I didn't mess with that too much. It actually sounds nice to push it in just a little bit, maybe to 70 or so. And I will solo those up so you can hear what's going on there. Maybe a little bit more. So you can actually get, without too much trouble, you can get something that's very, very usable without having to go in and program each one of those lines. Now, would it have been hard to program those lines? No, it would have been super easy. I'd just copy the MIDI over to those tracks and delete the extra notes and throw some legato on there, and, is a done deal. But I just wanted to show you that that can be done pretty easily. Maybe you kind of have your thing set up here and you need some more strings, and you already have something on the first, second violins and the viola, and you can easily use these ensemble patches to kind of fill in the gaps there. And so there you go. I was really quite pleased with the way this came out here. The only other thing to note is that these samples are, according to the makers, they were recorded in a lively setting. So sometimes you can hear some, for lack of a better word, some noise. Occasionally you'll hear some clicks. If one sample has a tiny bit of noise, playing back several hundred samples at once, you're basically going to add that noise together. So occasionally you will hear this kind of noise buildup. And, it can kind of fall off in weird ways there, like it does in the end with this cello, as it kind of dies off there. That's not really a huge deal. And to be honest, if you kind of listen to various scores, for example, if you listen to some of the soundtrack to the television show Lost, there's a tremendous amount of noise that you can hear in there. I can hear page turns. I can hear musicians shuffling around in their seats in like the real delicate string parts. I can hear bow clicks and just different things there. So, noise is not something that's completely out of place in a live playing environment. When you have people in a room playing instruments, there's going to be a little bit of noise there. Some clicks, some bumps, some shuffling, some things here and there. And it's really not that tricky to get rid of that. All we have to do is kind of filter out some of it if we need to, or we can do some automation there. If that were to bother you, it's really not a big deal. We can just do some fader automation. So at the very end here, when this note dies out, like right about here, the note's gone, but there's still maybe just a tiny bit more noise in there. So, we could ramp up an EQ in there, automate an EQ, for example. Let's give that a shot. How about? Here we go. Okay, EQ. So let's solo up that. And to me, that sounds like it's got some good low end. Like right there, that kind of took care of it. Now, if we play the whole thing on that using that kind of low, high pass filter, it's going to rob some of the rich kind of lower tones here in the 1 to 200 hertz region. Even if they're not playing low tones, there's some resonance there and there's some ambience in there. And we don't want to necessarily rob this of that all the time. I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you're looking for a particular effect. I don't know. Soundtracks to movies and things are mixed. If you listen to a recording of an orchestra playing classical music, it's likely that they didn't use tens and tens of microphones. If you're listening to a soundtrack for a movie, they're definitely mixed and they're engineered and they're produced. So something like automating a little EQ here, that's not really a big deal. EQing up a horn section or something, you don't have to feel weird about it. Like we're kind of touching something that's, this is the way it's supposed to be because this is the way it was recorded. Well, that's not true at all. Let's try and fix this here. Let's go to the end of the phrase here. And so right here, on this last note, what I'm going to do, come down here to the old cello. I'm going to click right there, and we're going to pull up band 1 frequency. All right, we don't need to just gain or Q because it's on a high pass filter. So now we have that lane here, right? And you can see if we hover over it, or if we just kind of click it, it's set to 35 hertz. So all we need to do is draw a little thing like this, and we can ramp it right up here to 300. And that little noise there at the end, that's gone. Okay, that was ramping it up to 1300. That was a little overkill. Maybe 300, let's try that. There you go, it's gone. And we can make this real gentle. Maybe we select these here and say, oh, that's off the page. And we select these here and say, for selected points, why don't you Bezier those? And then just for good measure, we can say, hey, if we add any other points, let's just make the default shape to Bezier. So there you go. And there you go. That pretty much gets rid of that low end rumble. We take that off. You hear that? You know, there's something down deep in there. You can actually look and see. Yeah, see, there's kind of a low kind of buildup here. See that? This is the yellow line here we're looking at. It's the EQ'd signal, and the, I don't know, tan line is the original frequency. So you can see there's definitely kind of a, when that sound stops here, it's right around here in this region of frequencies. This 500, right about there. See if we, that's that note right there. But after we get this kind of this build up here down below 100 hertz. So, you know, something as easy as that, and, you know, we basically taken care of that problem. And in other libraries, you are likely to hear some noise. So that's not something really to be worried about there. And we're going to look at one more example here where we take a look at automating the vibrato and the dynamics with the mod control in something a little bit more elaborate than what you've seen before. It's in a really delicate kind of string passage. So check that out coming up next.